Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? So this is a story about how my parents showed up on The Daily Show. As Josh mentioned, I grew up Mormon in the town of Provo, Utah, which is kind of the nucleus of Mormonia. People think it's Salt Lake, but it's Provo. And everybody in my family, except me, is still Mormon. I rebelled early and eventually washed up in San Francisco. Very happy about that. So these are my lovely Mormon parents. Back in 2001, I was living in Hawaii with my then husband, and he came into the bedroom with his Wired magazine, and it was open to a 2-page spread. And he said, "Is this your dad?" And I said, "Don't be ridiculous, that's not my father. That looks disturbingly like my father." It was an ad for how to make your internet faster for your business. Very Wired magazine. And there was enough of a seed of a doubt planted in my mind that I finally had to call Dad. And I said, "Dad, were you in an ad?" And Dad said, "Oh, that. Well, your mom and I posed for some stock photos. It seemed like it would be fun." So, stock photos are great. You can go to a stock photo company and search for example, bald bearded man, and come up with a picture of a bald bearded man, pick the one you want, and then you can use it any way you want. So over the years, me and my siblings have become accustomed to seeing Dad and sometimes my mom pop up in odd places. For example, I have a poster the size of a pool table, at least the size of a pool table, of my dad. His head is frighteningly large, holding a book. One day I was having some problems with my lady parts, so I was Googling OBGYNs. And a picture of my dad in a white coat and stethoscope. It was very, very comforting. And anytime one of these pictures would show up, my siblings and I would email each other and say, "Did you see Dad in that enema ad?" Mom and Dad in the background of a Today Show special about active seniors. I think it was this photo. Not sure. These things don't die. This was 13 years ago. And we still keep seeing Dad, and sometimes Mom, pop up. Dad is fine with this. He's got a real rubber face. He's a ham. He acts in local theater. But Mom kind of got roped into it. So last summer, I got a Facebook message from my fake brother Leonard saying, "Did you see Mom and Dad on The Daily Show?" I said, cool. They were on The Daily Show. At that time, I was getting ready to leave the country for a long period of time, so I was kind of crazy, slammed with things. I didn't really have time to look into it, but thanks, Leonard. That's really cool to know. Later that day, I got a call from my friend Jason. And Jason said, I'm sending you a picture. When you've looked at it, I want you to call me back. Shane? So he sent me the picture, and I looked at it and I said, oh, there they are on The Daily Show. That's really cute. I called him back. I said, that's great. Thanks, Jason. He said, I don't think you looked at that very closely. That's, for those who are having a hard time seeing, that's my dear parents with, I think the technical term is boners. On The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. So the next Facebook message I get from my brother Leonard says, in all caps, are you going to tell him? So there are two problems with telling my father about this picture. One is, Mormons are kind of touchingly innocent, willfully touchingly innocent about sex. When it was time for me to have the Birds and the Bees lecture, I went into the bedroom with my mom and the encyclopedia. I learned about fallopian tubes and ovaries and sperm. I never heard the words penis, vagina, or semen. And I still thought that you could get pregnant by sleeping next to somebody in the same bed. A few months later, when I had a bad dream and I climbed into bed next to Mom, Dad went into the bathroom for a really long time. That's when I learned about hard-ons. Mom told me all about it then. She loosened up over the years. But that was Mom. That wasn't Dad. It's a little bit different, dads and daughters. The other problem is that since these photos were taken, my mom died. And we didn't know it at the time, but when this picture was taken, she was already on her way out. And other people who didn't know her couldn't really recognize it, but when I look, I can see she was halfway gone. So I have to call my dad and tell him about him and his dead wife on The Daily Show. And I was on my way out of the country, so I had to do it kind of quick. Took me about 4 days to get up the courage. So I called him up. I said, Dad, one of these stock photos of you and Mom was on The Daily Show. Dad said, oh, I watched The Daily Show now and then. I missed that episode. I said, okay, let me prepare you for this. The photo was altered, but not in a good way. They gave you and Mom erections. Dad said, Both of us? I said, yeah. So it became clear he didn't want to see the bit, but he asked me to explain it to him. It was a long bit. So I explained the whole thing to him. And at the end he said, all right. We were quiet for a minute. And he said, so, how did we look? I said, well endowed. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mill Valley.